Welcome to Remote First Innovators, the podcast for leaders who are scaling companies built for the modern world. We sit down with founders and experts in distributed work to explore how they've broken down barriers and solved the real-world challenges of growing and running remote teams. Each episode dives into practical strategies for onboarding, IT, security, compliance, and everything it takes to build a thriving distributed business. No fluff, no theory, just what works when your team is everywhere and operations never stop. Here are your hosts, Robert Phelps and Jake Gump.
Welcome back to another episode of Remote First Innovators. We're joined by my good friend, Cameron Bolinger. He's an industry veteran who's been at the intersection of telecom, SaaS, and IT for over a decade. And Cameron's journey spans from Dish Network to Gartner to his current role at CytraCom, one of the fastest growing unified communication providers for MSPs and modern businesses. CytraCom actually started back in 2008, long before remote work came to the norm, and has evolved from a traditional PBX system into full-fledged unified communications platform, bridging calls and texts and collaboration tools into one simple, secure experience. And today we're going to talk about how CytraCom is helping remote and hybrid teams stay connected. Cameron, welcome to the show.
Great to be here, Jake. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. And thank you for your time. And I know we spend some time off of the show doing business together, so it's just cool to hang out and talk here on the podcast and just give people an insight. And I thought that you would be a great person to bring on the show because we talk to remote first businesses, and not only people at the office, but people at their home office and people that are just on the go. And I wanted to make sure that everybody could know that you and CytraCom was out there, and that's what we're doing here today. But first, I want to kind of start at the beginning. And I always like to give people an origin story and take us back to the beginning. How did CytraCom get started in 2008 with Zane Conkle?
Yeah. So Zane actually started his own managed service provider company, much like what you guys do. And in that journey, he saw there was a huge gap in the way the phone systems were built back 15, 20 years ago. It was very complicated. The PBXs, which is the brains behind the phone system, they were incredibly challenging to manage. It was not something anybody wanted to deal with. So he decided he could do it better and ended up creating what is now CytraCom.
Now, and do you happen to know what the original vision was behind CytraCom and how that's evolved over time?
Yeah, so the original vision was this voice over IP phone system, right? Being able to make calls through your internet provider. We've then expanded into what we call UCaaS, Unified Communications as a Service. So it's much more than just a physical phone in your office making calls through the internet. You've got your mobile app, you've got the desktop app that allows you to work remote. I'm actually working remote today, so I've been using my mobile app constantly. But it also gives you the ability to text. There's faxing that's built in. So really everything that has to do with a business's communication needs all falls under this UCaaS umbrella.
When as you were talking there, I was thinking about you working from your office, and when COVID hit and remote work exploded, how did that impact adoption or change the way you position the platform?
Yeah, it was in an instant. Everybody was at home. Everybody needed to be able to work from home. We had our mobile app that people could use, but we actually had quite a few people that wanted to use their physical phones from their home offices. So you can actually just unplug it from your office setup, plug it into your router at home, and you can make those calls directly from your home office from anywhere in the world, really.
Man, I love that. Looking back, what do you think made CytraCom stand out in such a crowded communication space?
Yeah, I think what really sets CytraCom apart are the people. A lot of the support companies or the support departments for a lot of these voice over IP UCaaS companies, they're based somewhere overseas. And CytraCom has always been 24/7 US-based support. We're actually all out of this office right behind me here in McKinney, Texas. Today I am working remote, which we can do from time to time. 90% of my days I'm there at the office with the entire team. But it's really been very important for us to all be in that office together, because if we do need to make changes for a customer, if there's any challenges that somebody's facing, I can walk 20 steps over to our support row, another 20 steps to the engineering team, another 20 steps I can actually talk to our COO and our CEO. We're all in the office, all in the same area together.
Love that. I will say your all support is what really made the difference in creative IT and our business. And we just found your all's support next level. So to get into a little bit about remote work, one of the biggest challenges of remote work is keeping personal and work life separate. So how do you think CytraCom would help with that?
Yeah. So I think there's a misconception because our mobile app does go directly on your physical phone. So people think, all right, now I'm giving up all of this privacy. It's a bring your own device policy, but it actually makes it incredibly easy to differentiate your calls. You have your business number. When somebody calls that number, it will ring your physical phone, it'll ring your mobile app and your desktop app. And it lights up in a different way. It has that CytraCom color to let you know that it's a professional versus a personal call. The other kind of aspect to it is the timeframes of the calls. So you can set your office hours. So if normally it's 8 to 5 p.m. are our office hours, but if I'm taking vacation, if I need to work a half day because I have an appointment that I need to go to, you can actually go into your settings and change your office hours so that your phone just doesn't ring when you need to have some personal time. So that's the number one way that we implement that work-life balance piece, by giving you the ability to structure your day based on how you work.
Yeah, I love how I know for sure whether it's a business call coming in or not, and when I'm on the go, I got to have it. It seems like we always get a bunch of phone calls nowadays there. And so it's nice being able to instantly know this is a business call I need to pick up. So that's nice. One other thing I wanted to mention was we often talk, I guess I'm considered a millennial, right? And so there is business nowadays. Some people prefer texting over calling. And I find that oftentimes in sales, sometimes I can get a hold of somebody via texting where I've called their phone 4 or 5 times. And so how is CytraCom meeting that need in a professional environment?
Yeah. So us millennials, we're in the middle where we grew up before phones, but we grew up with phones at the same time. Whereas a lot of the Gen Z, they're starting to get into the workforce, and stereotypically they don't like to talk on the phone. They want to text about everything. We actually have a few repair shops, mechanic shops that use CytraCom, and they don't even call their customers anymore. They send them a text and say, your car is ready for pickup. Come get it. You actually have the ability to text from your mobile app, from your desktop app. We also have a shared inbox feature that allows one customer to text in and the entire team can be responding. You can message internally in that chat so you can communicate. I could say, hi, this is Cameron. And then you can actually respond following up saying, yeah, here's the information you requested. From the customer's perspective, they think they're talking to one incredibly responsive support member when really it's the entire team behind it.
What industries do you think that you mentioned repair shops, but what other industries you think really would take advantage of that?
Yeah, really, it's very agnostic. Every industry we see benefit from it. Just off the top of my head, dentists, a lot of kind of appointment style businesses.
Yeah.
You want to send a reminder that somebody needs to come in for their appointment. But I text a lot of my partners, a lot of our customers, because it's just easier for them when they're on the road. So it really spans the gamut.
That makes me think about some stories that we have. And I know there's a great story about onboarding a customer overnight. Can you just share that story from the beginning? I don't want to ruin it for everybody, but so just can you walk us through that story? And because sometimes people call us in a panic and they need help right away. And I think there's probably some leaders out there listening right now that are probably like, man, I've had some times where my phone system just stops working and they don't seem like they can get help right away. And we got a story just for that. So can you share that one?
Yeah, it was actually an apartment complex. They were switching ownership. So they got bought by a new apartment owner. When that transition happened, they didn't realize that the phone service was going to get cut off. And so once that sale went through, everything switched over and they had no phones. They were dead in the water. Obviously, apartments get a lot of calls, not just for repairs, but for tenants that are coming to tour the facility. So you've got to have your phones up 24/7. So their partner called us and said, we're in trouble. We need these phones to be up and running. How quick can you get us started? That was, I think it was like a Tuesday morning. It was like 11:30 in the morning. I put together a proposal, sent it over. They signed it. We got it back like 1 p.m. maybe. We did an expedited order for the phones, shipped them out next day, turned on access, got them the ability to make and receive calls. And then on the back end, we continued to work with them to create their auto attendant, create some of those call routes, call in, press 1 for sales, press 2 for support, whatever that looks like for your business. But the biggest thing for them was getting the phones in the office, turned on, up and running, and we'll figure out the rest as we go.
I'm thinking about some of those individuals that have had businesses that have been running. They got that phone system that's been running for 20 to 25 years. And then all of a sudden they're trying to get with the 21st century and move on. What's some of the challenges that you've seen with clients who have those old phone systems from 20, 25 years ago?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge is believing that it's possible. You've had that physical box in there for so long. That is what a phone is to you. At this point in 2025, it's all cloud-based. You don't need anything on-prem. So a lot of times we just have to get in there and show people what the phones can actually do. We can plug it in. We can forward a call from their current phone system so that they can try it out. They can test it. They can download the mobile app and see, okay, this actually does work. I don't know how, but the calls are coming in and they're crystal clear audio, and that's really what counts.
Yeah, the one feature I like is that shared inbox feature. And I know that it was inspired by customer demand. Share how that idea came to life and what problem that solved.
Yeah, I think it came to life really, like you said, it was customers asking for the ability to do mass texting, inbound texting. They needed to communicate with their customers. So we kind of looked at some of the internal tools that we used. You've got Slack messaging, you've got Teams messaging that allow you to create user groups and talk within your teams to collaborate. And so we decided, let's figure out how to marry that with outbound texting. And that kind of came together to become what is now Shared Inbox.
Nice. Mentioning that it comes from inspired by customer demand. I know that one thing I like about you all is CytraCom as a whole. You guys take feedback serious. Now, a lot of companies, they'll send you that survey after you buy their product and they want to know, but it doesn't seem like they really take action on it or you really see anything fruits come from it. I know there's been times where we had little suggestions, man, and it seemed like you guys were actively considering it, thinking about it. You've made changes. So, my question for you, I think it'd be great for anybody listening to know how customer feedback shapes the product roadmap at CytraCom.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that our model is very unique in that we sell through our partner network. And so if we have a customer that comes to us with feedback, they want something changed, if we don't treat them well, if we don't take that feedback seriously, they're going to want to leave. We don't make anybody sign contracts. We've got to earn their business constantly. So they're going to want to leave. They're going to tell their partner to take off all the rest of their customers from CytraCom. That partner is going to go to a trade show where they tell their other partner friends not to go to the CytraCom booth. And so one customer can really cascade to all of the rest of our customers. So we have to treat each one of them like they are the only customer.
Yeah. For someone not deep in telecom, you have all these 4-letter words, VoIP and UCaaS, and a lot of different words. I just want you, can you tell the audience whenever they hear VoIP and UCaaS, and just what's the key difference between the two?
Yeah, so the key difference, so VoIP is voice over IP, so voice over internet protocol. And really that comes down to having your physical phone going over the internet. Instead of the old copper wires, the plain old telephone lines, it's going over the internet. Where UCaaS has VoIP in it, but it includes so much more. So it's unified communication as a service. So you have the voice over IP phone, but you also have texting. You've got the ability to do faxing, shared inbox. All of these features come together to encompass the unified communication space.
So you're mentioning the unified communication space with all that. Do you ever feel like there's going to be a time where we're not going to see a world with a desk phone and where everything just happens in the app?
Yeah, honestly, it's one of those things that is a little generational. People that grew up with a physical phone, they still like to be able to hold it up to their head. But people like our age, people that are in Gen Z, Gen Alpha, they basically are born with an iPhone in their hand or an Android in their hand. So I think as the current generation ages out and the younger folks start aging in, there's really not going to be a need for a desk phone. People tend to work better on the mobile app and the desktop app. And I think eventually it's just going to start phasing out.
Yeah. That brings to mind over complicating the experience. And I feel like that there's a lot of other phone providers out there that, man, there's just a lot going on. And how do you decide when you're talking to somebody which new technologies to adopt versus ones that just might overcomplicate things?
Yeah. I think it brings up a few thoughts. I think people will look at our texting feature, for example, and they'll say it looks just like the iPhone, it looks just like the Android. You're right, it does, because that is the easiest way to design a texting app that works and that people can use. So why are we going to reinvent the wheel and try to make something crazy and complex when it really doesn't need to be? So that's one piece. I think the second branch of that, it's like looking into AI, right? Everybody's doing AI. I talk to so many customers that say, what are you guys doing with AI? And the first thing I ask is, what do you need AI for? And 9 times out of 10, I don't know. It's just everybody's talking about it. What are you doing? It's certainly on our roadmap. We're looking into call transcription, live call transcriptions through AI. There's a lot of cool features that we're doing there. But a lot of the hype around AI is still coming to fruition. We don't really know where it's going to land. So I don't think that it's a smart business strategy to jump headfirst into the AI waters without letting it settle a little bit.
Yeah. That's funny you say AI, because anytime there's AI, I just want to start talking about it, because it's going to go down in history as the hottest thing never to do anything for anybody. I think everybody wants it to do everything. And I think they really need to figure out and make it do one thing really well. And there is some industries that it's really taking off, and then some industries where they claim a lot of things.
Yep.
Well, where can you see that, besides the live transcription, I think would be awesome. I know that other companies are like Apple and some of those are trying to do that as well. Is there any other things that you think right off the top of your head that AI might come in and really help in the phone industry?
Yeah, I think it's going to revolutionize the way that we set up call centers. I think that right now the auto attendants are, for the most part, press 1 for this, press 2 for that, press 3 for something else. Having that live AI voice that you can actually talk to and they can start to answer some of your questions, that's going to revolutionize where call center goes, because you're not going to need as many people. You're going to have specialized folks that they're only taking calls for certain items as the AI kind of fields them into their different buckets. But I think right now it's still very much in its infancy, where you talk to the AI, you tell them all of your problems and the troubles that you're having, and they say, great, let me get you over to a person so you can repeat everything you just told me. Thanks for wasting 5 minutes of our time. So we've got to get the AI models to a point where they can actually be helpful. Right now, they're helpful in terms of taking notes, in terms of aggregating data, but actually thinking and making the decisions, there's still a ways to go.
And you have, with AI comes compliance. I want to talk about compliance and it's just so important, and the usage of the data, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to train AIs on data.
Okay.
And so there's a lot of leaders out there that have to be conscious of the compliance. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about CytraCom's compliance, and how do you guys handle in your communication systems? How do they handle the sensitive data daily?
Yeah, so we are SOC 2 compliant, we're HIPAA compliant, we're PCI compliant. In terms of how we keep all that data secure, we keep our logs for 7 years. We actually had an instance where we had a municipality that uses us, and because they're subject to all the government rules and regulations, they got hit with a FOIA request, Freedom of Information Act, right? They called us in a fit. Essentially, they needed all their text logs, didn't know where they were, freaking out. And we said, it's okay, hold on. And we went back to engineering. We had them pull all the logs that they had. I think they'd been with us for 3 years, probably. We pulled the last 3 years of their text logs, sent them out, and they sent them over to the agencies. It's definitely something that doesn't come up as often. A lot of times the compliance is very much on the back end, and you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to think about it, because our team handles all of that for you. But we do see those use cases where it comes up and we actually have to put our money where our mouth is and start pulling those logs for our customers.
Man, if you haven't noticed, your all's response time and just being able to come through for clients is very evident. That's how we like to do things at Creative IT, and that's kind of one of the reasons why we're partners here. And so I just love having all these stories to pull from, and wanted to make a point of that. One of the things that I was thinking about when we were talking last was all of those spam and scam calls that are going on, and then there's that FCC texting rule that's been going on. Just can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think everybody's, and if one company could just come through and block all those spam calls, I would pay a lot of money for that.
Yeah.
Could you talk about that?
Yeah, so we do have the ability to block calls across all devices. It's actually directly integrated into the desktop app now. That's a recent add-on. You used to be able to do it through the portal. Now, if you get a spam call, you can immediately flag it and cut it across the whole system. Spam texting, the 10DLC regulation process, that was a debacle industry-wide. The government, they had high hopes for how they would roll out this solution. They did not roll it out in the most efficient way. And we had a large amount of our customers that they didn't register correctly because the government set everybody up to fail. And so they all lost the ability to make or receive texts, send or receive texts. This was industry-wide. It was all of our competitors as well. We actually ended up meeting with a rep from our upstream carrier and a member of the FCC to create templates, because you have to add opt-out fields onto your website that if you're going to text somebody, they have to be able to say no and opt out of that. Even if you're just texting a customer, it's not a campaign. It all still falls under the same rules. So we've developed some templates that you can easily post into your website that will make you 10 DLC compliant. And it's something we do at the very beginning of the onboarding process, because it typically takes about a week to 10 days. We'll do it at the very beginning of the onboarding process. So that's getting approved in the background. We're getting all of your systems up and running, setting up all the auto attendants, all the call routes. And then by the time we go live and move the numbers from the losing carrier, you're all set to go.
You make it sound too easy, Cameron. Is it really all that easy?
It is. It's something that our team does entirely on your behalf. It's something I constantly have to remind myself of, that you don't move your phone systems every day. I actually moved my cell phone plan to another provider, and going through that process as the end user, it was a little challenging and it was a little worrisome. My phone just stopped ringing. I had to wait for this port to complete. I didn't have any communication from my new carrier. But our team works with those carriers every single day. We port numbers every single day. We onboard customers every single day. So we try to over communicate, try to keep everybody in the loop, but you don't have to do anything but tell your carrier that you're switching to CytraCom, and then our team will handle all of the rest.
So let's talk about that for a second. A lot of clients that we've had and some of the feedback that we've gotten at Creative IT, they really liked how easy it was to add lines with you guys, and they're scaling up. I know we have some companies that are remote that they scale seasonally, and they may hire 15, 20 people and need to get lines to them quickly. Just what does it look like for them to just add users and go? And what does it look like in practice?
Yeah. For remote companies, it is incredibly easy. Especially the ones that are just using the mobile or the desktop app. All you have to do is call into our support team. You can email me or a member of our team and say, we need to add 1 user, we need to add 5 users, whatever that looks like for you. But because we are month to month, it's as simple as that. You call in, you tell us how many new users you need. We tell you what the new price will be. It's a very transparent billing model. It's a per user model. We let you know what the new price will look like. You approve. And then for the mobile and the desktop app, we can provision credentials in a matter of hours, get people to download the app from the App Store, log in, and they're good to go.
I will say everything is very consistent across the phone, the desktop, and the physical phone for that matter. One thing I like is when you check a voicemail, it checks it everywhere, right? You're not having to check 3 different things. It stays synced up. The desk phone is, for my older generation, looks awesome. It's got very nice big screens and buttons. The call, actually, I prefer, I've got all 3, obviously, and I usually have a headset that I'll make if I'm talking a lot, but I actually prefer using the physical phone just because of the call quality. And I always get people that hear my deep voice and they're like, man, you sound really good in that. And I was like, yeah, it's this desk phone. So I liked hearing that. So I kept using that over and over. So I just always like to tell people, when they're asking me, like I get several people that are with Ring Central or somebody like that. And they're like, do you guys have something? Yes, absolutely. I do. I was like, and it's so easy to use and it looks so good. And the app on the phone does really look like the iPhone app. It's very comparable. And I don't think I've ever had any pushback on people saying this is just way too complicated. I don't think I've ever heard that.
Yeah.
So I love the fact that you guys are easy to use and the support's there. You guys are within minutes, like our model. And so that's why now, if there's any IT directors out there or other IT providers that are listening in, what would you say to them about your service? I just want to give you a chance to plug to them for a minute.
Yeah, I think the three biggest things that set CytraCom apart, number one is that we are month to month. We never make you sign a contract. It really forces our team to put our best foot forward every day because we know that our customers can leave whenever they want. Most of them don't, which is a good thing for us.
Yeah.
Our retention rate year over year is around 98%.
Wow.
And we're very proud of those numbers, and it really speaks to our support team. The 2% of attrition that we do have, though, a lot of that is companies that are contracting, right? So we talked about how easy it is to scale. It's just as easy to contract. If you do have a seasonal workforce where you need to give them a few months of phones when they're calling in the summers, whatever that looks like. And then once that job ends, you just let us know, hey, we need to take off 2, 4, 5 lines, whatever that looks like. And then you're good to go. So that's one big piece that sets us apart. I think the other two pieces, the hardware is included at no cost. So there's no upfront charges. It's all OpEx. There's no capital expenditures that you have to worry about. And then the last piece, which married into the first piece, is the support team. The 24/7 US-based support really makes all the difference. I don't like to speak negatively about our competitors, but a lot of their support is overseas. Here, we're based in McKinney, Texas. The most complicated thing you'll hear is maybe a howdy or a yeehaw from our team. But other than that, it's the support it speaks for itself.
It does. It really does. I think it's one of the reasons why we chose to partner with you. I do have to plug this as well. The new phones new handsets every 3 years. So that if you're someone that likes to get new stuff, I love to do that. So that's a big one. Where's CytraCom going? So where are you guys going from here? Are you adding new products? Are you guys expanding? What's going on there?
Yeah, so we actually have expanded. Phones is actually just one piece of the CytraCom platform, the CytraCom ecosystem. We started out with the phones, and the phones are 100% tied into your network. If your internet is not good, if your firewall and your network aren't set up correctly, there's a big possibility that you'll have issues with the voice over IP phones. So we put a product out there called Control One. It is a SASE solution. It essentially takes your firewall and it moves it into the cloud. You can lock down access. It's zero trust by default, so you can lock down access for all of your users. And it'll also prioritize that voice traffic because voice and video are the most important pieces of a business. If your internet's a little slow and it takes you a few minutes to load your YouTube video that you're listening to while you're doing work, so be it. But you got to make sure that the video and voice quality is 100% all the time. So that's why we put Control One out, to help make the network easier to manage. And it really just helps with the phone system as well. We have another tool called Telivy, which will do risk scans. So especially when it comes to compliance, to seeing where your vulnerabilities are, it'll also do AI scans. So you can see which of your employees is writing all their emails with AI and putting all of your sensitive data into those AI chat models. So those are the three main products that we have on the platform currently, but we're continuing to grow, continuing to expand, figuring out any tool that helps our customers is a tool that we want to bring onto the platform.
Little plug for both of those products. Control One, I can tell you, a lot of our clients love having a firewall, even though their staff are not going to a physical location. So it's a direct answer to that. I do know that the firewall kind of routes there in Texas. So it's middle of the US and it does have very private traffic. So that's great. And then I will say we have become partners of Telivy as well. And we love the in-depth of that scans. I can tell you our security department loves it. And we've actually started using it full time in our business. So we'll plug both of those and give it the creative IT stamp that we love both of those. Anything else before we go more into you, Cameron, anything else on the CytraCom front that you think that we missed or that we haven't told everybody about?
No, I think that really covered it. So our data center, our main one, started here in Texas, but we do have them all across the US. We've got the East Coast, West Coast, North, South, really everywhere. All the calls are hot through multiple data centers. So if one ever does go down, we have a lot of redundancies built in to make sure that you can always make and receive calls. I think another important piece on that people ask about is, if my internet goes down, aren't my phones going to go down? And the answer is, your physical phone at the office will, your desktop app might, but that's why we have the mobile app. So you can always make and receive calls no matter where you are in the world. I actually was in Europe on a vacation and forgot to turn my phone off, and I got a work call, and it was either really late or really early in the morning, and I didn't realize that it was going to be that easy to stay connected anywhere.
But yeah, you're not bound to the internet or power of the building. That's amazing. I love that. You can take it on the go in the airports. It's like mobile office, right? So love that. Now, just before we head out, I always like to dive into the people that we're talking to. You've had an interesting career from Dish to Gartner. I think we all started in the retail phase, kind of people in our profession. And Gartner's definitely a very prestigious institution. And now you're here at CytraCom. What kind of attracted you to the world of SaaS and communications?
Yeah. A lot of it was, a little bit of luck getting to where I am. Started off at Indiana University, was studying marketing and professional sales. Didn't really know much about tech or about SaaS services, things like that. Interned with Dish Network in Colorado, mainly because I wanted to be able to hike every day. I really enjoyed my time there. I learned a ton. I met a lot of great people. And then as senior year of college rolled around, really realized how big the tech industry was and how many different companies there were, and was lucky enough to find Gartner, which isn't a SaaS company in and of itself, but it does all the research for all of those tools. So I learned a ton there. I had a lot of great managers, great mentors there that really helped me hone some of my sales skills and some of my professional abilities. And then wanted to make a career change right when COVID started. Tried to make a career change, did not work because everything shut down for a year or so, and knew that I was good at what I was currently doing. So did some research on some local Texas companies, found CytraCom, thought what they were doing was really interesting in the space, being able to work in the channel with partners, but also help thousands of customers every day. And I started out as a partner account manager here, moved my way into the UCaaS product specialist role, and really excited to see where the future goes from there.
You're definitely good at your job. I enjoy working with you on our accounts. It's nice having good partners that can, take over the sale essentially and give all the clients the information they need. And it's more consulting. I think when you get to the point where you're at, I get a pleasure of watching you, and it's nice knowing that you know your stuff. And so it's nice. Now, I'm always curious. I always like to ask the people that come on the podcast here, what influenced them at a young age, or at any age. Maybe you had someone in your family when you're younger, or maybe there was somebody in your professional or maybe college career that influenced you. Was there anybody that you can think of that just really touched your life, really set you on the path you're on now, and just is there anybody like that for you?
Yeah, I think there's two people that come to mind instantly. The first was a man named Steve Fox, lived in my neighborhood growing up. He was a Vietnam vet, had a really long white beard, rode a motorcycle. It was always fixing up his motorcycle. And I would do yard work for him. And I was probably 14 at the time. And he was the first adult that treated me like an adult. He would curse around me, which I thought was so cool as a 14-year-old boy. But much more than that, he just treated me like I was just there helping. I was another person, even though he had 40 years on me. We treated me as an equal, to the extent that I was as close to an equal as I could be. He was much smarter than I am, but he gave me so much advice. One thing he would always say was all things in moderation, which he had a different meaning behind that phrase, but I think I take it to the work-life balance piece. You got to be good at your job, but you have to take time to step away. You've got to be able to recharge, or you're going to burn out. So that was something that I still think about to this day. I think the other mentor that I had, her name was Dawn Kutza. She's one of my college professors that taught the kind of what do you want to do with your life class. It was called Compass, finding your direction. She taught Compass 2 my sophomore year, but she helped me get my internship at Dish Network. She helped me get my first job, helped hone my resume. So much advice, I can't even put it into words, but it was another person that at a young age, I was maybe 21 at the time, someone that treated me as an equal, even though she was my professor and she had so much experience, years of experience on me, treated me like an equal and really showed me that it doesn't matter where you are in your career. We're all just trying to figure out where we're going. You can be talking to an individual contributor at a company. You can be talking to the C-suite. Everybody's just people trying to figure it out.
That's right. That's right. Man, sounds like you had a couple people there that really meant a lot to you. I know that I had a couple people like that as well. Neighborhood gentlemen that would take you under your wing. That's awesome. I love to hear that. And you can tell, man, you can tell that you've really taken it and applied it, and as you've gone along. Any other additional thoughts before we close out here, Cameron?
No, I think we've covered a lot. Really excited to just see who we can help get better phones to.
Yeah, man. It's been a great conversation, and I appreciate you pulling back the curtain on how CytraCom can help businesses stay connected in a remote first world, and even at their office space, at their offices, at their homes. I think what really stood out for me is CytraCom and your team keeps things simple and reliable and human. And that's in an industry that often gets lost in buzzwords. And I really do think that CytraCom cares and is trying to innovate and build a product for the modern workplace. For listeners who want to learn more or connect with Cameron and the team, you can visit CytraCom.com or find Cameron on LinkedIn. We'll have those links in the show notes. Thanks again for joining us, Cameron, and to our audience, thanks for tuning in on another episode of Remote First Innovators. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and leave us a review. It helps other remote leaders find this show. Until next time, we'll see you then.
Remote First Innovators podcast requires more than a conversation. It takes action, research, and collective wisdom. If today's episode resonated with you, we'd love to hear your insights. Join the conversation and help us shape the future together. We'll be back with more stories, strategies, and real-world solutions that are making a difference for everyone. In the meantime, be sure to subscribe, rate, write a review, and share it with someone you think would benefit from it too. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.